Alrighty.
Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your patience. We had some technical difficulties, but we are here.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Texas State Board of Examiners of Professional Counselors. Today is Friday, October 13th, 2023 at 9:12 a.m. and we're meeting virtually today over Zoom. We'll go ahead and do a roll call. Dr. Amuna, will you introduce yourself, please?
Dr. Muna, Texas A&M University, Central Texas. I am present.
Ms. Janie Stubblefield.
Good morning, Janie Stubblefield, licensed professional counselor and board approved supervisor serving as a professional member.
Pastor Roy Smith.
I'm Pastor Roy Smith out of Midland, Texas, and I am a public member. It's so good to see y'all again. I miss you guys.
We're glad to have you this morning. Ms. Brenda Campanone.
Morning, everyone. Brenda Compagnone is serving as a professional member.
And Ms. Vanessa Hall.
Good morning, everyone. Vanessa Hall from the Houston area, and I am a public member.
Thanks, everybody. We are expecting Dr. Christopher Taylor. He's on?
Yep.
Oh, Dr. Taylor, just in the nick of time. Go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Christopher Taylor, Vice Chair, professional member for now, I suppose.
Okay. I will note the excused absence of Dr. Bradley. She has a presentation this morning that created a conflict. Of course, she would love to be here, but couldn't make it. She does have an excused absence. Christina, will you certify that we do have a quorum?
We do have a quorum.
And will you please introduce staff?
Yes, we have Daryl Spinks, who is the BHEC Executive Director. We have Patrick Hyde, who's BHEC General Counsel. Tim Spear, Operations Manager. We have Victoria Benitez, who's the one of the LPC Board Attorneys, and Kenneth Long, who is the other LPC Board Attorney. And we have Brenda Skift, who is the Executive Director Assistant.
Thank you very much. Moving on, number 3, application reviews or denials. Christina, will you verify that we do not have any for today?
There are none.
Thank you. Number 4, we need to nominate and vote on a board vice chair position. At this time, I will go ahead and open that up to any discussion. For a few years now, Dr. Taylor has served in that position very capably. He's done a stupendous job. I will let him speak on whether he would like to intend to still remain in that vice chair position. We will have some discussion. Let's just kind of be open and honest with each other. Dr. Taylor, I'll hand it to you if you want to add anything to that.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. It's been a pleasure. And I'm happy to continue to serve in this capacity as long as you will have me.
Thank you. Like I said, Dr. Taylor's done a fantastic job, but this is not it's not a tenured position. It's not a lifetime appointment. I do believe, and having spoken with him over the years about this, he enjoys the role. He does a good job at it. Anyone want to add to the discussion on that?
I'd like to. So my time will be coming up soon. I've served the board for many years, but I do want to say that Dr. Taylor has done a great job since the first day I met him. He's never given up. He's just really gone out of his way to do everything more so for the board than any vice chair I've ever seen serve on the board. And so I know it's still open for discussion, but I would absolutely be honored to recommend him for vice chair.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Brenda. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate that.
I would co-sign that recommendation, Brenda.
I would have seconded except for Dr. Muna.
Okay.
Got there first.
I
agree. I feel like Dr. Taylor represents us very well.
I agree. Y'all, a lot of Dr. Taylor does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. He does. He is always willing to offer his time up for extra work. It's very appreciated. Look, if anyone else was interested in serving in this role, I would try to be fair, but he does a fantastic job. If no one has any objection or no one else is interested in seeking vice chair, I will need a motion to nominate him for the vice chair position.
So move.
Thank you, Pastor Smith. I need a
I'll
second.
second. I'll second.
Thank you for the second. We do have a motion on the floor to reappoint Dr. Taylor as the vice chair. Is there any further discussion about it? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of reappointing Dr. Taylor as the vice chair position, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 All right. Nomination is approved. Congratulations, Dr. Taylor. It's great to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I was kind of thinking I was going to get fired today because I was like 10 minutes late. So, you know.
We discussed it before you logged on, but
but seriously though, it's been a great I think like 8 years now, and I really thank you all so much for your hard work and greatly appreciate working alongside of you. The work that we get to do and the work that we've done over the last 8 years is nothing short of miraculous and wonderful, and so it is a absolute pleasure and a dream that I get to do this. You know, so thank you all very much.
Absolutely.
yeah, and board, I would add to that, we have a big upcoming 4-year rules review, and Dr. Taylor is really going to absorb a lot of the work associated with that. And honestly, I'm relieved and I'm excited to have him back, and especially as we come up on that big upcoming rules review. So thank you, and let's move forward. Number 5, we need to nominate and vote on a professional member to serve on the BHEC, the kind of the higher board that has a membership of all of our additional sister mental health boards. Again, Dr. Taylor has served on that as well, and he's done a fantastic job. I will give him the opportunity again to state whether he would like to continue to serve in that role. So, Dr. Taylor, take it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, again, it has been an absolute pleasure to be a part of the Behavioral Executive Council, and I would honor the ability to continue doing that if none of my other fellow board members desire to do the job. I would be happy to continue doing it.
Okay. Board, I would add, you don't.
I have no desire. Dr. Taylor does great, but you know, anybody on our board is great. Anyone on our board can serve this role and do a great job. So I'm open to whoever would like to do it. Dr. Taylor, Dr. Muna, Vanessa, Pastor Janie, Dr. Bradley, everyone together.
Thank you, Brenda.
Also, with my current university responsibilities and new responsibilities that have been added, I would like to respectfully decline the opportunity.
Okay. I would add to this, Janie is very busy right now. We understand that, but even with how busy she is right now, she has also stepped up to participate on the BHEC level board. We're going to get to it a little bit later on, but her involvement with the Children's Mental Health Subcommittee, that's been promoted to a standing update at the BHEC level. So Janie, you're doing a fantastic job. I don't want to put any more on your plate. And
No.
Okay.
And I absolutely would endorse Dr. Taylor. I feel like he represents us very well at BHEC.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So if there's not any other discussion, I do need a motion to appoint Dr. Taylor back to the BHEC board. Thank you,
So-
Brenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Pastor Smith. All in favor of reappointing Dr. Taylor as the professional member on BHEC, please raise your hand and say aye, so I can see
Aye.
you.
Aye.
And congratulations, Dr. Taylor. You are once again our professional member at the BHEC level.
That is wonderful, Daryl, Patrick. We got a few more years, guys. So you're not going to get rid of me that easy.
Thanks, everybody. Number 6, this is a mistake on my part. We actually do not need an alternate on BHEC. Apparently, Daryl asked the governor's office about it one time, and they told us, no, there's under the statute, there's not actually an alternate position. So item number 6 just should have been left off the agenda. That's my mistake. We don't actually have a designated alternate professional member. So
All the same, Mr. Chair, since Dr. Bradley's not here, I think we should nominate her.
well, she would be a fine appointment, but in a way, Janie is kind of our de facto alternate professional member, because she's now gets to attend all those meetings, at least for her agenda item. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to number 7. Any orders to be executed by the board chair? Christina, verify that there's none.
There are none.
Thank you. And item 8, fourth quarter of this year, orders executed by Daryl. You'll go through those.
Yes, we do have 6 orders. Of the 6, one of them was an eligibility order. Those were in your board packet material as well as in the public material. But there's no action needed by the board, as they've already been executed by the executive director.
Board, any questions on any of those orders? Okay, hearing none. Christina, will you go through the reports, please?
Yes, in your board packet material and in the public material, we have the fourth quarter performance measure reports, the enforcement status report, and the complaint dismissal reports there. If you had any questions, I can do my best to answer those, but that information is there for your review.
Board, any questions on the reports for Christina? Okay, hearing none. Item 10 is SOA matters. Christina, we verify that we don't have any for today.
There are no SOA cases today.
Okay, thank you. Item 11, this has become a standing item. It's our response to potential changes after review and analysis of the Uvalde report. The only thing that I had to add to this is that we had begun some discussion regarding possibility for changing our reciprocity rules. Patrick had kind of workshopped some ideas, but we kind of took a look at it and decided that since we have our upcoming rules review next year, that it was going to be more appropriate as a discussion during that big 4-year review. And so in regards to examining what we could do with potential reciprocity rule changes, that has been moved to the greater discussion during our 4-year rules review. For all of y'all, I would add that if you have some thoughts on how you think reciprocity could be effectively changed, and that we could streamline licensing for those who've been licensed in other states, please kind of submit your thoughts to either to me or to Dr. Taylor, or really to Patrick, Daryl, or Christina directly. It's something that we will be taking a look at, and there's no promises or guarantees that we'll change anything. but it is going to be part of the discussion. And this is all kind of rooted in the, hey, let's take, everything's on the table. Let's take a look at what we could, what possible changes we could make that would be effective. This one was just kind of it was just big enough that we thought it would be more appropriate to discuss it at our great 4-year seminar, as opposed to just kind of starting to send something out of the rules committee and to the board. So if you have thoughts on that, if you have ideas, if you know, especially those like Dr. Amuna, you know, sometimes I lean on you because of your out-of-state experience. If something works in another state, and you believe that it is something that could help here, that's what we'd want to hear about. Dr. Taylor, anything to add on this?
Just briefly, we discussed a few possible options. I know Patrick had sent us a couple small rules that, you know, we could change, but we just thought it best to kind of do all of this at the same time, because some of these rules, you know, they interconnect with other rules and they can create complexities. So we wanted to you know, get the 4-year rules review scheduled next year, which we're required to do, and we'll be happy to do that. So we'll need to schedule that full day rules meeting, and we'll have a lot to go over. So we thought it best, rather than saying, here's a small rule, to kind of get all of those ideas together and just review everything. So, you know, put together your wish list, put together your thoughts. You know, we welcome open comment. So for those of you that are professors, if you have students that you think have bright ideas, tell them to send them on over. For those of you in the audience today, please, we want to hear from you as well. So we want open comment, public comment from everybody on thoughts on how to approach anything that will increase access to care.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. And I would add that those of you listening, we did hear kind of the some expressed kind of frustration that the rule changes were happening too often and that it was hard to keep up with. So this is also part of our efforts to kind of consolidate rule changes to one specific time, as opposed to just a slow leak of rule changes during the course of a year. Now we can tackle lots of things at a single time. And we're hoping that that provides some clarity and dials back some of the confusion that was part of the feedback that we heard regarding what we were doing of just having a new rule proposed or in the process every meeting. So there's a trade-off here. There's a bit of delay on when we could get to work on something, but the exchange is that we're tackling things at the same time, as opposed to just kind of spread out during the course of a year. So I do want everyone to really be aware that we did hear the criticism on that, and that, again, since we have the rules review coming up, it's a good time to sort of focus everything in and tackling it at one time.
And
Board,
now,
any other comment?
It'll also allow for us to make more impactful change, because we'll be able to make larger, more systematic changes at that time.
Correct. And we're going to talk you know, all that being said, we do have a rule change that we're going to discuss here in agenda item number 12. But is there anything else as part of this broader reciprocity discussion, or some first mentioning of the upcoming review? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. And of course, after I explained all that, we didn't want to do just rule changes all the time. We do have a potential rule change. So Patrick, we kind of talk about 681.72, the thoughts behind it and the reasoning behind it.
Sure. the Marriage and Family Therapy Board and the Psychology Board do not have a shelf life for their exam. Once you pass the exam, you don't have to, then that passing score doesn't expire. Social work at their October 6th meeting proposed a rule to do away with their shelf life as well. And so LPC is the last board that has a shelf life on their exam. And I believe, Dr. Taylor, you had mentioned you were wanting to look to try to standardize this across the other boards. And so this proposed rule change would in effect take out the 5-year shelf life for the passing score, so that, you know, you've passed it. We can count that score moving forward. So there's not really a lot changed, other than there's a few parts. There's a few parts in this rule that talk about the shelf life, and that's just been struck through, so that it's a fairly simple change.
Okay. Rules Committee, we did touch on this. There was not any objection, but board, any concerns or any, this one is not a huge deal in that I don't see how it creates confusion. That basically this is just taking away a hurdle to licensure. I don't even think that the 5 years really affects that many licensees.
There's a couple.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
All right, so it would affect it would remove a hurdle for a couple, as Christina said. I don't see that it creates confusion. Professional members, y'all have not indicated that you had any objection to this, and I kind of wanted your thoughts on it. Dr. Taylor, I know where you stand. Janie, I know where you stand. Dr. Muna, what do you think?
I do like the concept of being aligned with best practices. And if similar boards are doing away with barriers when we are desperately in need of qualified clinicians, then I'm all on board. I could see maybe the original premise was making sure that people who are coming into the field have the most up-to-date information, that may be the most up-to-date test, but that's kind of null and void based off of our CEU requirement. So I would be in favor of it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Muna. Ms. Campanone, any thoughts on doing away with this 5-year requirement?
I think it's great. I actually, I was supervising someone who I thought is going to surpass 5 years, but that's just because where he's working, he's not able to get any hours, and it was just a mess. So I think it's going to be a great benefit. Let's just be on board with all the other boards as well. So I'm for it.
Okay, thank you. Public members, Pastor Smith, Ms. Hall, I'll just say right now, I don't have a big problem with this, but do you guys have any concerns? Basically, we're removing a potential hurdle, and we don't feel as though that removing that hurdle creates a risk of harm to the public. And that's basically what it comes down to. But any thoughts from you guys on this?
No, well, except that I think it needs to be removed as well. I don't think it creates a problem.
Okay. Vanessa, what, any concerns or any?
No, I don't have any strong concerns. I just trust what the professional members are saying. They're boots on the ground and they know it. So I just go with that because I recognize that this is what they do. They're trained and skilled. And so I glean from that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, however, I
yeah, go
wanted to
ahead,
have
Jane.
a point of clarification. So the rule is that if somebody takes the NCC exam or NCE exam that there's no limit on that exam. There is still a 5-year limit to complete their hours. So we're not talking about the completion of supervision. This is just regarding that test and the time limit on that test alone.
Correct. So the typical scenario that would happen would be the LPC associate license is good for 5 years. If they don't finish all of their hours within that 5-year time frame, typically that NCE or the NCMHCE would already be 5 years old because it's 5 years that they
Right.
have to complete the hours. That exam has already expired. So that's the typical scenario that we would see. But again, they're still in the profession, they're still under supervision, so they're still, you know, so that's kind of why the people that get hit the most is someone like in your what you're saying. They don't finish it within the 5 years, which that the license time frame is not going to change. It's just the time limit for the exam itself.
Dr. Taylor?
Yeah, so I think two things really. One, like Christine was saying, I think this creates more of a trap than anything, which is why I think it was a good idea for us to go ahead and propose this rule to you know, the academics are good for life, right? You've taken the test, that's good as well. So you're good to move forward. I think the majority of people that get trapped by this are younger therapists that say maybe go on maternity leave for a while, or something happens in their life and they have to, you know, move to a new state, their husband or significant other is in the military. So, you know, I think those are the people that we see the most in this trap. But Christine, I do want to ask you, how many times do we see, you know, somebody applying for a license who has taken the exam and graduated, you know, say like a decade ago, but never went into the field? Do we see that often, or is that kind of more of a rare?
I would say we see it every now and then, but I don't think that is the typical scenario.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, if there's no further discussion, I will need a motion and a second. Okay. Dr. Muna, the motion would be that we approve the changed eliminating the 5-year requirement for the exam in 681.72. Is that correct?
I still motion, yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Janie. Board, we have a motion to repeal this rule, to make the change to 681.72. Is there any further discussion regarding the motion that's on the table? Patrick, before we vote, could you just give everybody just a quick preview of what the process would be at this point, when it would go to BHEC and when it would be put out for public comment?
Sure. The council meets on October 24th, so this proposed change will go before the council this month. And then if approved by the council, then it will go to the governor's office for a review. After that, once approved, then that will go to get published in the Texas Register, be open for public comment for 30 days. And then it'll come back to the board to review the comments and to decide whether or not to adopt or not adopt this change, essentially.
Patrick, thank you. I do like always putting it out there on what the future roadmap looks like, so that people know when they could, if they want to make comment on this, when they would have the opportunity to do so. So thank you for that. So board, if there's no further discussion, then please raise your hand and say aye if you are in favor of the proposed change.
Aye.
And that passes. Thank you. Item 13, it's our committee reports. Letter A is the Rules Committee report, and we've kind of already discussed the issues that were part of that. Like I said, reciprocity is something that we're going to take a look at the 4-year rules review that's coming up. We did have discussion on the rule change that we just voted on 681.72. And regarding this, the 4-year review coming up, we are kind of coordinating in order to examine lots of big ticket items at that time. And we're sort of getting everything in line to where that is tackled at the big conference, I suppose. And so we are looking at lots of issues. If there's something that you want to suggest for that, please reach out to Christina, Patrick, Daryl, Dr. Taylor, or myself. Also on the rules committee are Brenda and Janie. So they're gonna have the lion's share of work on this. If there's something that you kind of think that we should take a look at, please reach out and let us know, because we want to get everything in line to tackle all these things at one time. That's about all I have from the rules committee. Rules committee members, anything that you would want to add to that?
Just that for those of you that have not done a 4 years rules review, let me tell you, it is exciting. We will be reading every rule in order. I think maybe Patrick will be the narrator this time. So work on your narrator voice, Patrick. It is a hoot. So.
All right, it's gonna be a blast. I can't wait. So.
You want to prepare for it, go ahead and read your VCR or your DVD player manual. That'll give you a good way to get into the mindset of doing rules.
Curious to see which word you guys are going to be obsessed with this year. Last year it was May, so we'll see. Maybe we'll get some shalls this year or something.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Ms. Campanone, a report from the Professional Development Committee. Anything to add?
The only thing that we have is, I believe Christina sent out an email so that we were able to kind of review the jurisprudence questions that we had submitted. And also that if we were okay with that and, you know, the answers were correct, then that could be, that would also include the rules that were effective September 21st. But I don't know, Christina, if we heard back from everybody in that committee, if those questions were reviewed. Can you kind of give me an update on that?
Yeah, I did get some feedback. I'm working on a couple things. I've just a couple more questions to review related to the response that I got. But it should be done, it might even be done today. And then once that's ready to go, we can go ahead and send it over to the vendor, which shouldn't take too long for them to update and get it live for the licensees.
Okay, are we still looking at going live maybe the next couple of weeks or?
Yeah, I think in the past it's only taken them a couple weeks to get it up and running. So that's what I'm expecting. But I have not, made that determination yet with the vendor. So once I have that, I'll send it out to you all and let you know when it should go live. But yeah, thank you everyone on the committee for working on that, because it was it's a lot, and making sure that the links all work. And I know it's always been an issue. So, but we did have a lot of rules this past meeting where it did affect quite a bit of the questions and answers that were on the jurisprudence, because we had a lot of rule numbers change. And so it's very, very helpful though to be able to bounce that off of you all and kind of get that done. So I think it'll be a really good exam and everyone will be really happy with it.
Anybody have questions?
No.
All righty, Mr. President.
Christina, I think you were going to handle application and supervision committee.
Yes, the application and supervision issues committee did have one case reviewed from the last meeting. Luckily that case was able to be resolved, or that issue was able to be resolved internally and did not require review by full board. So another committee, I appreciate your time and commitment and reviewing all of the materials similar to what you all might see in a case for the full board, and just reviewing that and reaching back out so that we can go ahead and get that resolved for the applicant and get them licensed. So thank you.
Any questions?
Christina?
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Christina, can you tell me, what kind of trend have we seen since we've changed some of the rules regarding the academic time limit? Anything regarding applications and upgrades? Like, have we seen, fewer issues or more issues, or what have you noticed?
Are you talking about related to deficiencies?
Yes.
Or, I would say academics has improved quite a bit. I think really the biggest thing is probably getting the practicum form completed by the university, just, you know, something little like that. Fingerprints, I think a lot of times they're confused on where they go to do that, or, you know, whatnot. But once they get it done, it's a really quick process. So overall, I think everything is improving. I hope to have some additional information out there for the students and potential LPC associates related to processes, but it's really just getting that word out on, again, Tim has made all these how-tos. There's, you know, specific instructions on every form that you need to submit. The links are there. So it's really just getting them to our website to read and find it. But overall, I think it is improving.
Is there any specific issue other than fingerprinting that you kind of see rise to the top?
No, I don't think so right now. Right now, no.
Any other questions for Christina? Okay, moving on. Item number 14 is the board chair report. Again, I've started doing this report as a written summary, so please look at the packet materials for that. A couple things that I did want to point out. Garrett Nairn, who was a public member on the board, resigned his position a few weeks ago. I would just want to say I would thank him for his service while on the board, and the governor's office will be looking for a new public member to serve on here. So celebrities would be nice, high profile athletes, that would be great. So if y'all, if you have any good ideas, please reach out to the governor's office and see if we can increase the star power here. So, but seriously, thanks to Garrett for his service while he was on the board. Next, I did touch on this earlier. Janie's involvement with the Children's Mental Health Strategic Plan Subcommittee is now going to be a standing item on the BHEC agenda. She represents BHEC when she serves on that board, and so it's kind of a, you know, new boards are kind of exciting. Janie, anything that you would want the LPC board to know about that?
So just what I'll be reporting to BHEC is the committee continues to meet. We heard from Texas A&M University is doing an analysis of the number and types of resources that are currently available in the state of Texas to identify the mental health services across that continuum of care for children, youth, and their caregivers. And then we are working on our vision and mission statement. That's we're getting that kind of solidified as we launch into the meat of the work that we'll be doing in the next year.
Danny, thank you for representing BHEC and you know, especially representing LPCs. We appreciate that. BHEC met on August 15th. Our rule change approving the addition of PhD credentials to the licenses was approved by the council. Our rule change regarding informed consent was also approved. We had a few non-substantive changes from the governor's office, but it wasn't something that required the rule to be sent back down to this board. Patrick, any sort of indication on the timeline for that? On when that'll go out for comment?
When it will be published?
Yeah.
I think it's the proposed change, and I think Brenda, isn't it the governor's office still looking at it? Or no, I can't remember. Or did it already go?
No, they had some non-substantive changes to it.
I didn't hear you, Brenda. What did you say?
What rule was that, Patrick?
Let's see.
the rule on informed consent.
Aren't those already effective? Or am I?
Oh, I
No,
thought
you're
you were talking
correct.
about the PhD.
Yeah, informed consent's already in the rule book.
Oh, it is. Oh,
Yeah.
my
Sorry.
apologies. I was getting the process confused. My mistake. All right.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's good to go.
So you weren't talking about the PhD one? I'm sorry, I got confused. I misheard you.
No, the PhD one is going back to BHEC. This was the one on informed consent. That, I apologize. That is farther along. That was now effective.
Ah, okay, sorry.
Yes.
No, that was my mistake. And this one, I do want y'all to pay attention. This is kind of an interesting discussion. It's sort of this great high-level philosophy. BHEC started having some preliminary discussion about whether to amend its 22 TAC 882.23. So the licensee is only required to deliver service in deliver services in Texas, but not from Texas to another jurisdiction. So Daryl brought this to BHEC. It's a very sort of high level philosophy type of discussion, and we have begun some analysis on it, and I think everybody's going to have some thoughts on it. Daryl, not to put you on the spot, but is there anything that you would want our board to be thinking about, or where that stands? I mean, it's very early on, and I just based on how the discussion went, I felt as though you guys were just trying to see what people thought about it, and if there's been any movement on it since BHEC met, let us know.
Yeah, it's one of those deals. When we brought the issue to the council at its last meeting, what we were trying to do is kind of gauge the members' interest or willingness to, even entertain a rule change like that. And when we kind of laid out, we all talked about the pros and the cons of doing it. And kind of the consensus at that time was, based on our discussions then, was that we don't really see a lot of downside into making this type of change. It will be a watershed change in how the council has looked at the requirements for licensure when you're talking about telepractice across state lines. And BHEC's view is really the same that y'all's board had taken, I think, even in pre-BHEC days. So there was no shift there. BHEC was looking at it the same way y'all were. But we're now, kind of following the Uvalde shooting, the Senate special report, the House special report, Governor Abbott's directive to streamline things. We're trying to take a look, what can we do to increase mobility and portability? So before Patrick and I did a rule change on that, we wanted to visit with the council, take their temperature. The message we got was, hey, we're definitely, it sounds interesting. Let's take a look at the actual rule change. So Patrick and I have put together a rule change, and I think we're bringing it back at the October 24th meeting. So that's where the council will actually get to lay eyes on the newly proposed rule. And then of course it'll go out for public comment and all that fun stuff, but that's where we're at.
Thanks, Daryl. Dr. Taylor, you were part of that discussion. Anything that you wanted to add on that?
I get inundated regularly at every conference and everywhere we go. It's like, are we allowed to practice doing X, Y, and Z? So I would love some clarity on that for everybody, so we can say, hey, this is the answer. We just tell them that your license operates you to practice here, and then that's between you and the other state. If you want to see a client as they go back to school at OU or something. So I'm very excited to see this sort of get into an official capacity.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Like Daryl called it, it's sort of a watershed analysis on, and I think I agree with Dr. Taylor, clarity on this so that the answer shifts from, this is what our rule is, don't ask me any more questions about it, to where we do have some additional clarity provided. Nobody wants to be in violation of the rules. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. I thought it was just such a kind of high level discussion that I did want to mention mention it here in our meeting, that it's being tackled at the BHEC level. And like Daryl mentioned, next BHEC meeting is October 24th. So any questions on BHEC stuff? No? Okay, moving on. I would like to point out that our board members and staff is getting out into the community this fall. Next week, up in my neck of the woods, the Association for Mental Health Professionals Conference. Daryl's going to be speaking at 9:15 next Thursday morning. Christina is going to follow him at 10:20. And I'm also going to be part of that if I can wrestle any of their time away from them. That's going to be up in Richardson. Like I mentioned, BHEC is the 24th. And then also our membership is going to be part of a panel discussion at TCA. Vanessa is going to represent us as the public member on the panel. Dr. Taylor and Dr. Bradley will both be joining the panel. And also just confirmed that Dr. Amuna will be part of that as well. So that'll be an incredible panel. We're all kind of working together to have some specific discussion items that each member will be responsible for. And then with the time that's left over, we always like to take questions from the audience. Last one, February 2nd is our next LPC board meeting. And I did want us to have a very respectful, open discussion about whether you guys would like to meet in person down here in Austin. My thoughts on this is that, number one, I am protective of y'all's time and your volunteers. And if the thought of having to do traveling, both to get to Austin and return, if that's asking too much of your time, I would not make you do that. That's kind of where I would lean towards continuing to meet over Zoom. Now, there's just a lot of benefit to getting together in person. The building is now approved to host meetings. It's a great facility. I love seeing all of y'all. I think it's good for board camaraderie. It's good for being an effective board. I do believe that if all of us enjoy being around each other, or at least don't drive each other crazy, that we are a better board, because the time, I wouldn't want you to dread time together. I would want you to kind of say, I look forward to spending time with everybody. And so I will put it out there that I would like for us to meet in person at our next meeting on February 2nd. But that is asking each of you to take additional time out of your schedules to get here. And if people don't want to do it, I'm not going to make you, because like I said, I'm protective of y'all's time. We're all volunteers here. We're all busy. I kind of take a compromise position that, let's try this out. And we may decide this is great, let's always meet in person. We may decide, hey, this is fun and we had a good meeting and it's great to be together, but maybe we only want to do this once a year. In which case, I'm okay with that. We could have our February meeting every year, could always be in person, and then we could have the rest over Zoom. That's sort of a compromise position. But we are all grown-ups, we all get along. So give me your honest thoughts on this. Would you like to, who is okay with making the commitment to meet in person on February 2nd? Janie, go ahead.
And Chair Hobart, as a member of the board, I think it would be wonderful for us to meet in person. I do have questions about the opportunity for the public? Will this still be live streamed? So I know there's a space for people to attend in person, for there to be attendees in addition to the board, but will the meeting be live streamed and also recorded and all the things that we've been doing?
Yes, it will. We do, our official minutes are now the YouTube recording. So that will always be, it will always be recorded. It will be always have a Zoom option, and we will be able, anybody that wants to watch online will be able to do so, and they'll still be able to make public comment via Zoom. Daryl, you turned your camera on. Did you want to add something to that?
No, you covered it. That's what I was going to
Okay.
make sure the public was aware of. We're not doing away with the ability to give virtual public comment. Because parking is getting down here where we are is no easy task.
Does anybody not want to meet in person?
Well, I guess I'll go next. My decision will be determined on who's paying lunch, right? And if it's a great place, then I'll be there in person. Nobody? Okay.
Are we allowed to have lunch together?
We can if we stick to just the conversation of like, you know, little things here. and
Go
there.
Saints.
That's right. Go Saints. Or Broncos. Broncos.
Patrick can correct me on this, but I believe that we are allowed to have an amount that exceeds a legal quorum, but we cannot discuss any board matters at all. Or which case, if we did, we are in violation of the Texas Open Meetings Act, and we get thrown in quorum jail, and none of us want to be there. So, Patrick, that's correct, right? No board matters whatsoever, correct?
Correct. Correct.
No, I'm good with being in person. I mean, I'm coming in from San Antonio. So it's not too far for me. It's just when you get into Austin, the traffic is horrific. Like I need a charter plane just to get through the traffic.
Well, Brenda, you bring up a good observation in that if we all met in person, we could actually start the meeting a little bit later, and that would help if you were driving in that morning. Or Dr. Muna, you're coming from Killeen, right?
Yes.
We could start it at 10 a.m. as
That would be
opposed to
perfect.
9 a.m. to make it a little easier on everybody's travel.
That would be perfect to not have to fight from my direction the Tesla, Amazon, Google employee 8 o'clock traffic. That
Okay.
1 hour delay would make a huge difference in the type of traffic I'm competing against in getting into Austin.
Okay. Pastor Smith, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that you would not be driving here. So it's you getting on a plane. And I know back from our earlier board days, you used to do it all the time. How do you feel about this?
Well, I have a preference for the road. I like to drive. So I enjoy the trip down to Austin. My wife usually comes with me. We come in a day early, and we always do that everywhere we go. So I make it a fun trip for her as well, and for myself. Plus, I just like to drive, and I enjoy y'all's company. And I think that being together is more of a felt reality. I don't mind meeting by Zoom if we have to occasionally, but I have a preference for the felt reality of seeing y'all in person.
Well, thank you. Daryl, can you, the meeting that we would have this, the room that we would have this meeting, I know it's pretty good size. How much room for the public, how much seating would we have for the public in this room?
I think there's 50 plus seats in the room for the public.
Okay, good. And again, they would still be able to, if they just wanted to watch us on Zoom, they can still do that, correct?
Yeah, that's the room hasn't been that large room has not been finalized yet. They're still working on the tech in it. But our goal will be to have it set up to where we can do just like what we're doing here. Uh, and of course, if that room is not available, we're going to do a test run with BHEC's October 24th meeting in the large. It's about a medium-sized conference room across the hall from the office here, where the public can come in person if they want to, but council members can also attend in person, and then we'll be doing the virtual thing as well. So we'll have a couple of options once that big room comes available, but either way, we will have the medium-sized conference room over here, I think, available, unless we just crash and burn in doing it on BX October 24th, and I'll have to remember.
Okay. Board, any other comments? This is not we're not going to vote on it or anything. After the meeting, I will discuss it with staff, but my inclination is to commit us to an in-person meeting on February 2nd. And if it's a disaster, then we can go back to meeting via Zoom. But first of all, I'm protective of your time, but also now that Daryl told me we can have more public participation once we get into this large conference room, I like the fact that we're not losing the Zoom option for the public, but we're increasing the number of people that can attend in person, and I like that as well. Dr. Muna, go ahead.
I'd just like to know if it's appropriate, who's the farthest member away, and have we heard from whoever's the farthest member?
Pastor Smith is in Midland. He'd be the farthest.
Yeah.
Vanessa Hall is in Houston. Do you have a problem with getting down here or over here?
I don't. My drive would be very easy.
Okay.
I think Dr. Bradley's in Lubbock and she flies in.
Oh, that's right. I think she's, from what I can tell, I think she's okay with meeting in person as well. Vanessa, go ahead.
Is the quorum, if we meet in public or in person, will the quorum be based on in-person participation, or could it be a hybrid, both virtual from the members, the board members, as well as those that are in person? What would the quorum be like? What would be the criteria for that?
That's an excellent question. Daryl or Patrick?
Based off of both. Whether you're attending virtually or in person, there's no distinction between that when counting quorum. The only issue that comes up is if you're appearing virtually, the public has to be able to see your face and hear your voice as a participant. For like Chair Hallbauer sitting there now, that's why the camera doesn't have to be zoomed in tight on his face where you can read his expressions and everything, because technically that room is open to the public. But for all you're in your own personal homes and offices, not accessible by the public. They have to be able to see your face and hear you clearly. So once it's important to understand too that, like in this medium-sized room over here, it's not an either or. 8 of you could choose to attend in person. If there's one of you that can't because you're out of country or out of the state, you can Zoom in, and as long as we can see your face and hear your voice, you count towards the quorum.
Thanks, Daryl.
Hey, Daryl is a pretty bright guy, isn't he?
No, you've got a bad impression of me, Pastor. Sorry. We need to meet in person. I'll clarify. Let me rectify that real quick.
All right, board. I will discuss it with staff after our meeting today. But like I said, my inclination is let's meet in person on February 2nd and see how it goes. Okay. I wouldn't want to sacrifice any of the meeting effectiveness that we're pretty good at. I would only want to make our meetings better. And I think that we could do that, but it is asking more of y'all's time.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've never attended an in-person meeting. Is there anything else that I would need to know just in general that would be helpful to prepare for February? Is it just showing up? Do I need a badge? How would I know where to go and what to do?
Hey, that's another really good question. I know off the top of my head, we will have to do a determination of if you're bringing your own laptop or not. Because if you're bringing your own laptop in order to access the packet materials, then staff will not be trying to figure out how to get you access to those materials. You'll be taken care of, and you'll just get on the Wi-Fi when you get here. As far as getting into the building, we'll figure that out. It may be me meeting everybody downstairs and then we all go up to the 7th floor together, but we will figure that out.
Yeah, we'll definitely reach out to you all if we do move forward with this, because we'll need vehicle information for the parking garage. So there's quite a bit of little things that we'll need. So you'll probably either hear from myself or Brenda Skiff about entering and parking and even travel and, you know, reimbursements, like all that fun stuff. We'll definitely get with you all ahead of time.
One last question.
Go ahead,
Please.
you've had good ones.
So I'm coming, like, I know my husband would come with me. Would he have to just kind of hang out somewhere? Is there a place for
In the audience.
He could be a member
him
of
to
the
stay?
public.
Or I don't know, maybe you don't even know that answer yet.
He can be out in the audience.
He's still the public,
Oh,
even though he's
okay.
married to you. He can come in the meeting.
Okay, all right, awesome.
And we've got we've got little sitting and waiting areas too, that are, you know, kind of by our kitchen area, the vending machines and that kind of stuff. The Bullock Museum is right across the street from us. If you wanted to go over there and kill time, that's a good place. Or you can go look at the Capitol. We're within walking distance of that. There's a lot of things to keep him busy. The Blanton Art Museum, UT campus. You know, he tell him to bring his walking shoes when he comes.
Okay, I will, thank you.
Dr. Muna, you had one more question?
A little bit more unconventional. As an avid water drinker, I know a lot of times we kind of just push through our meetings. Would we have built-in breaks since we're in person?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have no problem with that.
Christina, will you post the schedule for 24, please?
Yeah, yes, I'll do it here just shortly.
Okay, that wraps up my board chair report. Stay tuned regarding February. We will let you know pretty quickly. Christina is going to do the board administrator report, and probably after that, she will get the next year's meeting schedule. Unless Daryl just gave us that.
Oh, thank you, if that is it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Daryl.
Thanks, Daryl. Okay, 15 board administrator report.
All right, so a couple of reminders for everyone. So again, we have many resources available on the website. So please pass the word, especially for someone who is newly trying to apply with us. We have lots of resources there. It's just looking for it, reading it, all that fun stuff. Another big thing to pass along to someone who is trying to get initial licensure: before submitting your online application, please be sure to go on our website. If you go under applying for a license, that's under the LPC webpage, we list out every document that we're going to need. It even has pretty links that gets you right to the forms or right to the sites that you need to do. So that, you know, again, as Dr. Taylor was asking earlier about deficiencies and all that, I think it is starting to help, but please continue and use that and pass the word that that information is out there. After submitting an initial online application, please remember that the fingerprint information will be emailed from a do not reply email. Again, legally, BHEC and staff cannot provide that information prior to an applicant or someone becoming an applicant. So submitting a fee and an application. Associates, please remember to go online to complete the online upgrade application. That will initiate staff to complete your upgrade application. Otherwise, we don't know that you're ready to upgrade. So be sure and do that and pass the word to any supervisors. Yes, Ms. Compagnoni?
Christina, just right quick on the supervisor of the upgrade form. On the second page, it reads mail to BHEC, you know, whatever the address is. Yet when you go online, it says that it's only to be submitted online. So
Okay.
clarify?
Yeah, I
that?
think that is something that they were working on removing from the form so that it can just be online, or they can upload it online also. So I'll follow up and see if we can get that off.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for bringing it back up to me. Just any applicants who have deficiencies, just a reminder, you only have 1 year to resolve that deficiency. That includes even if you're deficient in a course, you have 1 year. If you don't complete it within the 1 year, you'll have to reapply and submit a new fee. Related to renewals, again, you'll be notified if you're selected for audit. We send out reminders and open your renewal online 60 days prior to the application expiring. We do not need CEs unless you were selected for audit, and you would just attach those to your online renewal. Reminder that the jurisprudence is required at every renewal. So just make sure you continue to do that, as well as the human trafficking awareness course is also required. That can be found on the Health and Human Services Commission website. Staff processing times, they are all for initial applications out of state, upgrade, and supervisor. Staff are working on September 19th. So continue to be patient with them for that. If you applied before that date, please go back and look at your emails. You may have a deficiency. Lastly, we will be updating the expert witness list. Some of you may remember we sent that out a couple years ago. So what's going to happen is if you are interested in being an expert witness, for the board, so there may be a case that we may want an expert to be a part of, we would contact you, the attorneys would contact you and see if you would want to be a part of it, and they'll look at what your expertise is in that may help that case. So please be on the lookout for anyone who's interested in that. Even if you submitted previously, please resubmit, because we're going to be making a brand new list. I will send that out by email blast, and again, if you are interested, please respond to that. Other than that, again, I appreciate all the time from all the board members, all the committee meetings that we've had and will continue to have, and go from there. And it looks like we have some questions.
Yeah, Christina, can you tell me, are we done with fingerprinting catch-up? Meaning like renewals, are those done? Or
I think majority, yes. I think there are a couple still, but I think we have the majority, yes.
Because I think that's going to help. That seems to have been rather confusing.
Yes.
So now if it's just new applicants, and they have to do it for their initial application, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so hopefully that'll.
Yes, that should. Ms. Stubblefield?
I just wanted to echo what you were saying about the expert witness list. And so for all of our attendees today, if you will share this on your various platforms and with your professional colleagues, this is something that is very important to our process. We need expert witnesses in all categories. So if you have a specialty, we want to know that. If you are in any of the levels of licensure, we're looking for that. And so this is, like I said, a really important part of our process. And so if you're on here just going, that's different, that's interesting, check it out when Christina sends that email, and consider becoming a part of what we're trying to do to serve Texas here. Thank you, Christina.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions for me? All right. I think we're good.
Let's go ahead and move with public comment.
All right. So anyone who is interested in providing public comment today, please go ahead and raise your hand in the Zoom function. Please remember that you have 3 minutes to speak. And
Brenda, keep time.
I think Patrick is going.
Patrick, okay.
Patrick, right? You're keeping time for us? Okay. All right. So the first one we have today is Kathleen Meals.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. My name is Kathleen Mills, and I am the co-founder of the Association for Mental Health Professional, which is an organization for licensed mental health counselors who prefer a more truer form of mind, body, spirit, professional development, cultural awareness, and business ethics CEs than they were taught in school, while delivering a state-of-the-art, current, more holistic approach to mental health care. A quick look at our agenda for our upcoming conference next week. Thank you, Chair Habauer. In Richardson includes 2 BHEC addresses, presentation from an attorney from First Liberty on our First Amendment and freedom of religion rights as counselors, breakout sessions covering liability insurance, EHR platforms, and cybersecurity for counselors. That's followed by another attorney reviewing family care issues of concern in a post-COVID environment, and we will knock out that HHS-approved human trafficking checkbox. Our ticket includes a pre-recorded 3-hour cultural awareness video in which we interview people of different backgrounds about what cultural awareness means to them. Day 2 is devoted to a holistic approach to mental health care, as opposed to the neck up, prescribed another pill approach. We have nationally recognized Tier 1 doctors and nutrition experts from over America, connecting the dots between nutrition and mental health as they discuss naturopathic treatment methods that actually are more effective than 5% effective pharmacological approach. I am personally inviting you and all listeners on this call to attend this one-of-a-kind conference, but you will absolutely need to purchase a ticket before Monday. Board members, I would love nothing more to have you here so you can meet therapists who have the heart to serve and who feel disenfranchised from you and your agenda. Our conference theme this year is a whole body approach to mental health care in a post-COVID environment. Our conference has the following balance of offerings: 16% cultural awareness, 34% business ethics, 5% sex trafficking, and 45% development. A quick breakdown of our competitors' conference, who is offering 71 sessions, yields basically this: 51 of the 71 sessions are dedicated to the category of diversity ethics. It's heavier on diversity than in the areas of gender affirming care, gender identity, including adolescence and play therapy for children who pick up the wrong toy, kink, and other sexual activities. And there are some socioeconomic sessions. So I really invite you to please take a look at us and everything that we can offer you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next person we have is Rashasta Brandon.
Yes, how are you guys? My name is Roshasta Brandon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, before I move on, I do want to know what was the name of that organization of the lady that just spoke, because I am interested in the conference.
Awesome.
And if I can, get the name of that organization.
I got it here. Just want to make sure I get it correct.
Me too.
Okay. Thank you. I'm so sorry about that, but that seemed very interesting.
The Association for Mental Health Professionals.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So yes, I was just wondering, how should we submit public comments in regards to suggestions for rule changes? Is there an email address or specific avenue to submit comments and suggestions? Because as an LPC associate, I am a part of the LPC associate Facebook group, and I just wanted to kind of spread the news that, hey, you guys are open to ideas, suggestions, and would like to hear from our population. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll reach out to you with that information and separately. Okay, next we have is Angela Bowles.
Good morning, board. My name is Angela Bowles. I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor and the Texas Counseling Association liaison to the board. Thank you for considering an in-person meeting this year. We really appreciate that. TCA supports high professional standards and appreciates opportunities to engage with and hear from the board, like at the TCA Professional Growth Conference in Houston, November 1st through 3rd. We would like to thank the board for their upcoming presentation on November 2nd at 12:30. We are looking forward to a great conference and hope to see as many there as possible. As always, we would like to thank you for your dedicated volunteer service to our profession and to the great citizens of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Okay, next we have is Dr. Diane Smedley.
All right, good morning, board and staff. My name is Dr. Diane Smedley. I'm a counselor educator, licensed professional counselor, and licensed marriage and family therapist. Also, I serve the Texas Association for Counsel Education Supervision as their liaison to the Texas LPC board, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you all today. First, I want to begin by thanking you all for your support on the addition of the PhD credentialing on licenses. I'm sorry. TASIS is grateful for the board's willingness to protect the public through credential transparency. Additionally, I want to thank the board for the willingness to discuss the proposed rule change regarding time limits related to licensing exams. This discussion has clear nuance as there's benefits and concerns on both sides of the decision. However, TASIS hopes to continue this conversation with our membership as part of the TASIS mission to assist in improving the competency of counselors, prospective counselors, and counselor supervisors. We look forward to continued engagement with the board via public comment. Also, real quick, I'm going to throw there, I'm so excited that we potentially have an in-person meeting in February. So thank you for that. But finally, additionally, on behalf of our new president-elect, Dr. Yufin Lin, I want to invite board members and staff to present an update to our membership at the TASIS Midwinter Conference in Georgetown, Texas. That's going to be February 22nd to the 23rd, 2024. We'll send more detailed information as additional items are finalized. Thank you for the opportunity to make these comments, your thoughtful consideration, and continued service to the citizens of Texas.
Thank you. Thank you. And next we're going to hear is Sandra Martin.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I will introduce myself. I forget to do that. I'm Sandra Martin, Texas. During a couple of recent board meetings, we've heard board members express appreciation for the high standards of Texas counseling and also concern that the standards remain high as we work with rules for temporary licensing, reciprocity, compacts, and so on and so forth. In the understanding of Christian counselors of Texas, our counselors are enriched beyond their awareness by the fact that our governing bodies are part of the executive branch of Texas government and that our rules are boundaried by Texas law. As you move into what is understandably a massive effort of a rule review, we are confident that our standards will remain high and protected in Texas law. And we do thank you for your service and look forward to hearing the results of that rule review. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you. Next we'll hear is from Rhonda Kimball.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so just a few things. I was so glad to hear, I hope I heard this right, that because I strongly suggest the repeal on this PhD designation. Again, it's just a false sense of someone being a better counselor, giving a false advantage of earning potential, especially if you own a clinic and the insurance companies view that as meaning something more. But a PhD does not mean you're a better counselor. This license does not require a PhD. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. And I don't think it's a good idea. So I think I heard it's going back up to executive. I also want to speak to Daryl. I saw you squelch the public comment at the executive meeting. You squelched chairwoman. She wanted to hear something. And you said you had decided. I'm not really sure, parliamentary procedure. I think she has the right to call for public opinion at a public meeting. So I hope that was an error and that's why it's going back up and that it will be turned. I also noticed there's, other than Dr. Taylor, there's no PhD here today. All of you were absent at this meeting. I'm sorry, Doctor. I mean the LPCs. I'm speaking to people that work in this field. Okay, that are even pursuing doctorates in other areas that will not be counted. So it's just anyway, bureaucratic red tape. I'm glad it's getting kicked back up, and I hope you will all show up for that meeting. We were lawyered up and doctored up. We hear from the TCA, all these doctors were prepared statements. Listen, we are stakeholders, any LPC, so if you paid for a license, you are a stakeholder. You have a voice. You may not be their lobbyist, but you have a voice. I also want to speak to the fact that, I applied a year ago to be on the board and was never acknowledged. I had to call the governor's office to be told by someone who didn't give a name, we already picked our person. Okay, so I don't know what the procedures, maybe you guys explain that, you define who the stakeholders are. And I would love to hear from Daryl how, I know you're the executive director and you're the government and a lawyer, but how did you squelch the comments of the public and the chairwoman? And I know no one likes it. I see eyes rolling but anyway, and then on the telehealth, our client and good therapy is based on a relationship. So when you're making telehealth rules, a Texas resident is still a Texas resident, even if they go to school in Oklahoma. And this relationship is what is saving people. So I think that needs to be considered. And also when we get an arbitrary call from someone who's idle and we take it and give them a resource, we give them a referral for free. Remember, we are compassionate people who love to help others. So I hope that is considered when you all are. And I'd like to see a little bit more of a mix on this board, more LPCs and public people. I know, Patrick. Gotcha.
Thanks, Ms. Kimball.
Thank you. Next we have is Dr. Olivia Weddle.
Hi, I'm here. You all might hear my toddler yell in the background, so I'm just going to announce that at the beginning. But yes, I'm Dr. Olivia Weddle, and I'm grateful for the ongoing opportunity to attend these meetings virtually. I'm the immediate past president of Texas Mental Health Counselors Association, otherwise known as TOMCA. I'm also a counselor educator and a private practice owner in Grapevine, Texas. It was really wonderful to hear Chairman Hallbauer mention the board and BHAC getting out and about in the community. We are looking forward to seeing you all at the TCA conference in a few weeks and also hearing your panel presentation on November 2nd. And a formal invitation to present will follow for the TOMCA conference in the spring, but we ask you to save the date of Saturday, April 27th, 2024 for the TOMCA Spring Conference in Fredericksburg at the University Center for Texas Tech. Thank y'all so much. Hope you have a good day.
Thank you. And the last person we have is Dr. Lori Hollingsworth.
Good morning, board members and staff. I am Dr. Lori Hollingsworth, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and supervisor and counselor educator. Today, I represent the Texas Mental Health Counselors Association as TOMCA's president. Thank you, as always, for the opportunity to provide a public comment on behalf of TOMCA. TOMCA welcomes the consideration of removing the 5-year shelf life of the passing scores of the NCE, especially for those who are already in the process of working on their licensure. There are some concerns, and we will keep engaging conversation going on with our board members and members. Additionally, we thank you for considering how to streamline the rule reviews and rules changes. And TOMCA is very excited to see that the board will be in person all together again in February, and we will be there ourselves with you. And we appreciate that you're making it available to the public, the board members or the board meetings available to the public so that they can attend in person or virtually. Most of all, we appreciate your consideration of public comments and service and all the work that you do to provide to the citizens of Texas. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have, and I'm terrible at names, so I apologize ahead of time, Sahar Lasso. Sorry.
Yes, good morning. I just have a quick question. I was curious if it is still possible to receive ethics continuing education for attending meetings such as this, and if so, what is the process to receive that? Thank you.
We no longer give CEs for this, but please look out for our lunch and learns where you can earn continuing education for attending those.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
And last one.
All right, and last one we have is Philip Crum.
And that would be me. Thank you, Christina. My name is Philip Crum, and I'm the other co-founder of the Association for Mental Health Professionals, and I appreciate the conference mentioned, Chairman Halbauer, and we look forward to meeting you on Thursday morning. I'm going to tell you, I love me some Rhonda. Rhonda is not alone in her feelings. She's just brave enough to hop online and say what she's thinking. And I'll say what I think everybody else is thinking. She's not crazy. What you hear is frustration, major frustration. Now, I'm not a licensed counselor, which makes me Joe Citizen you're supposed to be protecting. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm not feeling it. I like to share my thoughts with you just a little bit as to why that is, and you can take it for what it's costing you. Now, last year, you passed a new set of renewal requirements for counselors, and based on a lack of evidence presented for that change, I am convinced it was done to appease a certain crowd. Now, 3 hours of social indoctrination training are required every 2 years. Why is that? Well, I think the answer to that is apparent in the phrasing of the actual rule, which is on page 120 of your rule book. It's that little phrase, but not limited to, that opens the floodgates to anything under the sun or straight out of hell to be taught and counted as cultural diversity. My 12-year-old granddaughter came home from school last week and told her grandmother that she'd overheard another student being asked if that student was a boy or a girl because he couldn't tell. The kid replied, both. And still another kid listening asked, what's your pronouns? After I pulled my wife off the ceiling, she said, no child that age comes up with that kind of stuff by themselves. Her point being that there must be parents, teachers, school counselors, and other adults behind this. This stuff is real. It's not compassionate counseling. It destroys lives. It's evil, and it's going to stop. Now, the rule I mentioned earlier is aiding and abetting in this kind of real life experience, and I cannot believe that anyone on this board, which includes pastors, is good with this. Based on my 10 years experience and conversations with many counselors, I do believe that a vast majority of the licensed counselor base is not happy with the board's actions of the past 2 years. Not all of them, just a good handful of them that I'm talking about. That means by your actions, you represent the beliefs of less than half of your licensees. That's a problem for this board, and it's admitted counselor shortage. Kathleen and I have had discussions with many counselors who would say, you know, I'm really thinking about turning in my license and going to a life coaching model because of this and all of the other overregulation that we have to put up with. Now, will they do it? I don't know. But what that tells me is that what you're doing may have a negative effect on your licensing numbers. And I'm all ears if you can convince me how that's a good thing for me, Joe Citizen, and my grandkids. Maybe in the upcoming rules review, you guys will reconsider some of the things you put in place in the past 2 years and base things going forward on verifiable problems that need to be solved. Making rules based on social justice track just isn't working. In the meantime, Kathleen and I will continue to do what we can to build a home for the disenfranchised counselors that make up the vast majority of your licensee base. I thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes public comment. Board, any other last minute items before we adjourn? Okay, at this time, I will
Wait,
entertain.
Sorry.
Oh, go
I
ahead,
just
Brenda.
wanted to take the time to recognize the month of October, which is National Domestic Violence Awareness, and also breast cancer awareness. I am a survivor, still in remission, second year. But I thought about whether I wanted to share the story or not. This is the second time I've ever disclosed this. I have kept it a secret for a long time because there's many mixed emotions involved in this personal journey of mine. But I'm doing this because I want to represent everyone who has been through this process and is a survivor, but for those who didn't, and to empower yourself by, doing all your checkups and listening to your body. You know your body best. Whew, just wanted to get through this without getting a little tearful. But I felt like this was the platform where I could just share my story, but really my story is the story of everyone who's been through this process. So thank you for allowing me to do so.
Brenda, thank you for sharing that. We care deeply for you. Thank you for your vulnerability there. We're sort of a Zoom family, I suppose, but we are a family, and always reach out if you want somebody to talk to. Thank you. Board, anything else to add?
No, I just want to thank staff for all their hard work. Christina, Tim, Kenneth, Gloria, Daryl, and even you, Patrick. Thank you for all your hard work over the past few years. Really appreciate you. And to my other board members for giving up their time as volunteers to be here. It's a lot of work, and I'm so grateful that we get to do it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Taylor. He brings up a good point. Staff, thank you. The reason that these meetings go efficiently, and my goodness, we used to have like 2-day long meetings, and now we're about to be done here in under 2 hours, and it's because staff is working so hard, and that makes everything efficient for us. So, Dr. Taylor, that's a great point. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
So, all right, board. I need a motion to adjourn and a second. Thank you, Dr. Amuna. Do I have a second? Thank you, Pastor Smith. Board, thank you for your service. I look forward to seeing you guys, whether it's coming up soon or maybe in February. So everybody take care. Happy holidays. Be well. And at this point, all in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We're done.